So, that's a very professional way to
Best
start.
start to a segment
Thank you. So last week there was in the sporting world and the NHL. Yeah. Oh, Mitch.
Oh, hey.
Whoa. Hey.
That's me. That's
Yay.
my songs.
Jerome McGinley was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins at his request. His trade was at his own request. He had said to the Calgary Flames, I will go to one of 4 teams. And these were the last 4 Stanley Cup winning teams, all very successful this year so far as well. And because he's getting older and he wants to win a cup before he finishes, and it doesn't look like Calgary's going to do that anytime soon. So we can talk about how if we think he's going to succeed in Pittsburgh with Sidney Crosby as his line mate and recreate the golden goal and yada, yada, yada. But I am more interested in the idea of loyalty in sport. And we've got guys in our city like Milt Stegall and Doug Brown who spent 14, 15 years with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers exclusively. Didn't go anywhere after they had tried their hand in the NFL, came here and stayed here. But I think, what happened to loyalty in sport? And Jerome McGinley, great, I know you want to win a Stanley Cup, but dude, like you are Calgary.
No, yeah, and he definitely is the Calgary Flames, and I won't disagree with you there. Thing is, well, yeah, now he's the Pittsburgh Penguins, but I mean, there's so many problems in Calgary. But that's the thing. He's getting older. I mean, the thing with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is the fact that, I mean, love the CFL. There's 8 teams. Your chance to win the Grey Cup is, you know, arguably a little bit better. In the NHL, obviously more teams, you know, less chance to win. So it's one of those things you kind of have to go to a contender. And, you know, Jerome got to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Calgary Flames. I mean, a lot of people remember that great run they went on in the playoffs, coming up just, I mean, 1 goal short, essentially. But the way I see it is he gave everything he had to the Calgary Flames, and now, I mean, that team is in such disarray. They've brought in guys that are underperforming. They don't know if they're rebuilding or trying to go for the playoffs, but they've tried to go for the playoffs and have missed it and haven't been close. I just think, you know what, and we were talking about this in the newsroom earlier, just one of the greatest Stanley Cup lifting moments is Ray Bourque winning the Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche after all those years in Boston. Couldn't win a Stanley Cup, goes to the Colorado Avalanche, beats the New Jersey Devils in the Stanley Cup final. Captain Joe Sakic takes that Stanley Cup from Gary Bettman, and instead of raising it over his head like a regular captain does, he just goes right over to Ray Bourque and says, "Here." And Bourque lifts it, and I mean, I've seen that clip thousands of times.
But does it mean as much? Does it mean as much if you put in all that time with a team? Like, to me, it feels cheapened in a way.
I'm with you. I don't think it does mean as much. I think it's, and this is just me, but I think it's better to try your best and win with the team that you've actually helped build, like Jerome McGinley did with Calgary, right? And then I think next year, if he wins, I mean, sure, he'll have the ring and stuff, but it's not the same.
Well, especially with how many games are left in the season? Like 10-ish at this point?
Depending on some got games in hand.
Right, okay, so let's say there's 10-ish games left, and this is when he joins them, and then if they win the Cup this year, I just can't, you know.
I agree with that. If you join them like later on in the season, is it as sweet, you know, like you didn't really contribute to the rest of the play throughout the year, so did you really win the Cup?
I don't know. I just think it's the principle of winning the Cup. For Jerome McGinley, I think if you asked him, he would have loved to have brought a Stanley Cup to Calgary.
Of course he
would.
Sure.
But that's just, it just hasn't worked out.
Milt Stegall could have gone to the Montreal Alouettes and would have won a Grey Cup. Doug Brown, same thing, would have won and would have beautifully contributed to those teams. I just think I feel like if I was a professional athlete, there's something to be said for loyalty. And a guy that spends his entire career in one uniform only, like I get a couple years here, a couple years there, a couple years there, then maybe if you win a cup with the team that you know is your 3rd or 4th stop along the way, then I think it probably means about the same. But for a guy who spent a decade and a half in one city and then now he's going to go somewhere else.
But I also got to say, in contrast to that, is that I feel like the guy gave Calgary a real good shot, and he gave them all he could for as long as he could until he finally said, you know what, my team's not winning. I got to switch teams. And I don't fault the guy for wanting to retire and say, you know, one day be able to say to his grandkids, hey guys, you know, remember when I won the Cup? Or maybe it won't happen, and maybe they'll stack their team in Pittsburgh and it'll just fall apart, because that happens too in sports.
The other thing.
But you got to give the guy credit for actually sticking that out as long as he did. And I feel like Calgary probably still loves him the way we love Timu. We wanted Timu to come back to Winnipeg, but we understand he's a Duck now.
Yeah.
And we understand he's not going to be coming back, but we love him just the same. You know, when he comes here, we give him standing ovations. And, you know, that wasn't a loyalty thing, though. He had to leave.
Yeah.
I
But
think there is a certain sense of betrayal, though, that Calgary probably feels right now. Like I remember when Gretzky left Edmonton, there was that, and that was one of
that was the
first
owners they were all up in arms about.
The one
Yeah.
thing with that, though, is Gretzky was still in his prime at that time. That was the main thing.
That's
Jerome
true. He
didn't wanna
McGinley
leave.
is older now. He's
Yeah.
not the same Jerome McGinley that can carry a team by himself to the Stanley Cup Finals. He can't. I mean, love the guy, but he can't. And let's not forget, the Stanley Cup is the only thing missing out of his trophy case. He's got an Olympic gold medal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That would be the one thing.
got a
I feel
cool
like
last
it would
name.
mean so much more to have, have all those years of battling through it, getting to the Stanley Cup final and not winning, that it would mean so much more with all those layers. And now it's just like, I'm just going to go, I'm going to buy my way to another, to
it's
get this
analogous
thing.
to like, why doesn't he just buy a Stanley Cup ring on eBay or something? You know, like,
Yeah, 'cause-
I got one, sweet, great.
It'd be like, the Mighty Ducks, and then you're cheering for them through that whole movie, and then Emilio Estevez just like goes to another team, and you're like, help another team win.
Totally
Like, it wouldn't be
can.
the same movie.
Is loyalty, then is,
Might
is
be better
loyalty-
actually.
That's a good parallel.
Is loyalty an antiquated notion then?
I think it is.
I think nowadays.
It's a
Sports in
business.
life?
Hockey's a business, I
Well,
think.
personal
and-
development still too,
and it-
right?
yeah.
Like, it maybe doesn't mean as much, but you run the risk of never having it in your trophy case.
It's also what you
right?
want for yourself. It's what you expect at the end of the day. It's what you're looking for. It's your goals. It's your dreams. It's your ambitions. Jerome McGinley, when he was growing up playing hockey, learning on those rinks, going there when he was a little kid, he was dreaming of a Stanley Cup. Can I fault the guy for wanting that? I don't think I can.
But will it feel weird
don't-
if he's got that Stanley Cup ring and he looks down and there's the Penguins logo
Well, it depends on
encrusted in diamonds
how
as
long
opposed to the
he's-
Flames logo?
Depends on how long he's with the Pengs for. I think if he just wins it this year and then he bounces, I'd agree with you 100%.
It feels weird to me.
Absolutely,
I think-
if he just sticks out this half season, or not even a half anymore.
Yeah.
I'd love to see professional sports run like the Olympics in that you play for the team that is from the city that you're from.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? I think it'd be awesome. I think that'd be so great.
imagine the Winnipeg Jets then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they'd be so good.
Going up against Salt
Yeah.
Lake City again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The best
awesome,
teams would be
though.
these small market, like rural teams.
Yeah.
That's like it'd be Gimli's. Like,
Brandon,
awesome.
Manitoba.
Well, but then it would be like you'd have to expand your geographical sort of like drawing pool, and it'd be like, yeah, like this is like like Manitoba, Saskatchewan, like Northwest Territories, and yeah, I think that'd be cool. And then you'd get some real loyalty, you know, as opposed to like players who are just like, oh, you're offering me $10 more, I'm in, yeah.
Give me a beer.
Yeah.
I would just like to thank Doug Brown and Milt Stiegel for their loyalty to our city and our, because that, I don't know, I just feel like it means something.
Yep.
Now, if Jerome wins, and, well, you know what would be the worst though? If the Pens
First round exit.
I meant if
that'd
the,
be
if the Penguins somehow end up coming up against the Jets in the playoffs and
You know what I think would be
ACC
really funny if Calgary wins a Stanley Cup in the near
Oh,
future.
that would be a laugh. Right?
just desserts.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
that
kids.
sounds delicious.
Yeah, we got to get. Oh, I love dessert too. We got to get back to work. Everyone, have a good day.
We had no
well.
donuts.
Casher.
Casher.